What is your favorite Disney childhood TV show?
My favorite Disney childhood TV show. This is an easy one. So, growing up, my favorite show would have to have been That's So Raven.
Ooh, yes.
And the reason why I
Okay.
That's So Raven is because I had a huge crush on Raven Simone growing up. I still think she's one of the most beautiful people on the planet. And I would watch the show in fascination at just how beautiful she was. But not only that, it was a lot being a lot younger than Raven's character. I was like, when I get to high school, I want it to be like this. And when I got to high school, I realized it was nothing like that. But but it made me realize, I was like, hey, I want to have these experiences in high school. I want to have those close friendships and get into trouble and get away with being silly and just being yourself. Like Raven, she taught us on the show that it was okay with being yourself. And that's something else that I really love too, because growing up, I was really goofy. And, so it could either bother people or it could either like get on their nerves or they could really like you. There's no in between. At least not for me growing up. but Raven, that's so Raven really, it made me feel more comfortable in my own shoes to be myself and just be, open to making those connections with people. So she had a big impact. That show itself had a big impact on my life.
And everything I love. I
I want
resonate.
actually, do you have a favorite show? I'm just like now it's like the ball is rolling.
Yeah. So I was about to say that at least when it comes to Disney Channel, and I think about the live action shows, That's a Raven is top. And then when I just think about cartoons, I think between Kim Possible and the Proud Family. And when I think through, like, even when I just think about like the theme songs, like Kim Possible and That's So Raven have the top theme songs on Disney Channel. And honestly, I might say like all the childhood television across the three major networks, but that's another debate. That's another
I
conversation.
Speaking of, I like that. I like that. For me, when it came down to Kim Possible, it took me forever to realize what their name stood for.
Right, Kim Possible, Ron Stoppable, but like
Right.
with Kim, nothing is impossible, but with Ron, he just stop
He
it.
left out. And I was like, and when okay, so from the time we watched the show as kids until the time we got a little bit older. When I was older, that's when I realized what their names meant, and it was a random day. I was at work a random day, and I was thinking back to my childhood. And I said, "Impossible was impossible," and
Yep.
it was mind blowing because I'm like, here I am, so much more like so many years later, and I'm just now realizing this, and I'm like, and I tell my girlfriend, I go, did you always know that impossible is impossible and Ron Stoppable is non-stoppable? And she goes, yeah. And I look at her like, did you for real like all this time? It was just a random conversation. But yes, that is a really good one. I like that.
Mhm.
And the Proud Family, I don't think a lot of shows, especially, I mean, credit to the content, the shows that are out there today, but there aren't a lot of shows that could compete with the Proud Family. The Proud Family was on another level, especially back in that time. You know, it was very rare that you had ethnicity that was on TV back, especially for a cartoon. So I felt
Mhm.
like took it. They broke down the barriers of this is what is on TV. So when you see this, you're like, wow. So cartoons have come far. So it's like it, and then because of their situations, they were so real, but they put like their own spin on it, where it was still like I can relate to it, but at the same time I can laugh at it being a kid. It's like, okay, so yeah, like Penny Proud, the characters were all very relatable. They made them very personable, and that's something I really liked about the Proud family. So I like that. I applaud those answers. Those are good.
Let's go. Okay. Now for the next quick question. If you could live in any movie universe from your childhood, what movie universe would you live in?
This is interesting. So I know that you're probably looking for like this grand answer, but I'm so basic in the most polite way. When it comes like, okay, I don't know if you're familiar with the Back to the Future trilogy at
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
But growing up, so I know that it's like its own thing. And it's not really a universe, but it somewhat is with the three movies that they created because it puts you in a different time frame every single film. So for
Mhm.
me, that's one of my favorite movies as I was growing up. I always said I wanted to be a part of that type of atmosphere where I had, a crazy scientist friend who just said, hey, I created a time machine today. Let's go back in time. Let's go to the future. And it just made me, I was like, watching this as a kid, so fascinated by the concept of time travel. Like, is that real? And Marty with the shoes that could tie themselves, the Nike shoes, which is super cool. I don't know if you noticed, but they actually made those shoes real.
Yep.
It's interesting, but that's another topic for another day. But so I was thinking to myself, like, I really want this to happen so much, in fact, that when the year 2015 hit, I was I was literally sitting in my room, just looking out the window, like, okay, so when are the flying cars gonna drop? Where are my shoes that tie themselves? Where is it at? Like, and still to this day, I'm still waiting for that 2015 to roll around. Like, I'm so disappointed. But yes, to answer your question, I would love to live in the Back to the Future, that atmosphere, that reality, well, that concept of reality. If that could be something for me, if that was an option, I would definitely pick that type of platform because and then you never know what you would get into. It's like, you'd be like, one day you could be like, I'm going to go to the past and let's see, I don't know, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, or I can go into the future in like to 2100 where, our president may be a hippopotamus. You never know. It's like, you know, you're like, what is this? It's like, I want to know. And then you have the mystery behind it of, you want to embrace the past, but then you don't want to know too much about the future. So, it puts you in that time zone too of just, it's the mystery. And also the, what is it that I usually tell people? The wisdom to know, but you never want
Mm.
to too much. It's like, because in my opinion, you do want life to be full of surprises. So that's my take on it. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, Back to the Future, and it just hit me when you asked the question. I'm like, oh, definitely, I got this. Back to the Future. So I mean, but what about you though?
That got real philosophical real quick, and I loved every ounce of it. Now, I'm my knee-jerk reaction is the world of The Emperor's New Groove.
Nice.
That movie was impeccable. I've seen it more times than most people would expect. There's just something about going into Yzma's lab and just seeing what's gonna happen next.
I love that answer.
So
Darius,
that's
you open up my mind to all these different atmospheres, and this is beautiful. I loved it. You know what? When it came down to Emperor's New Groove, I was blown away by that movie. I'm still blown away by that movie 20 years later. And you're just like, when I watched that movie as a kid, I was just saying to myself, like, what if this roller coaster was real? Like, what if there was an actual roller coaster that we could get on that takes us through Yzma's lab? Like, pull the lever, Kronk. Do you remember on social media when that was so popular, when you had so many people doing the pull the lever Kronk challenge? And I tried so hard to do that was actually one of my first pieces of Disney related content, which to take
mm,
topic. But yeah, so one of my first pieces of Disney related content was doing the Emperor's New Groove challenge, where you had all those different people on social media pretending to be Yzma and Kronk, and then you had some really good ones where they dressed up to be like, Yzma and Kronk. But for me, I was like, you know what? Let me just do what we call with Disney bounding. So with my personal take on it, I dressed in the colors of Yzma and Kronk, and I played both roles. Oh, it was not my best, but it definitely was not my worst. I'm proud of it. But on the part where, they're like, pull the lever, it's like I'm in my bathroom and I'm like jumping up and down to like create the effect of falling. And then I was like, thank God that there's so many different effects that you can use with social media, because for the fall effect, they have these, different effects that you can use on TikTok and different sorts of social media that I would use. I'm like, well, thank God that they have this, because I don't know how many times I could jump up and down to create the effect of falling. But
Yeah,
yes, I was like, oh my gosh. But yes, The Emperor's New Groove is definitely one of the best Disney animated films that I feel like they've made in years. So you just, every time it's like you open up that gateway, Darren. My goodness, it's not until you say something where I'm like, oh yeah, oh, I remember that. Yes, but Emperor's New Groove, 2 thumbs up.
I love it. Now you already made the segue. When you first came across my For You page, and when I first came across your content through the For You page on TikTok, I was like, why does he know so much? Is this legal to know this much about Disney parks? I was like, who, where is he getting all this information from? I need to follow him because this is dope. So
I appreciate you.
in your start, like take me even in more depth about your content creation journey. Like you got into a little bit, but
Yes.
say more.
Definitely. So, with my journey, let's go back a few years. So, I believe it was around 2015, Darian, when I got mostly into just wanting to be a part of that content creation. And when I started, I was very young and I wanted to, this is going to be kind of tough, but I wanted to be like everyone else. And when I say that, this is where, it could go into that you want to be your own person. But, I'm learning. I was brand new to social media. And back then I had a YouTube channel. And
Mm,
the YouTube channel was called Random Myles, because I am a very random person, but that's what makes me who I am. So I had that as my channel. Long story short, but that's how I started. And back then I started with a comedy. It was more of like a comedy thing where I was like, you know what, let me just take myself in random situations, random pieces of my life. Like when I go to a park, or if I were to just go get pizza, anything that was happening in my life, I just take myself. And when me and my friends would travel, I would tape that as well. And we were like, we would just be ourselves. But when I talked about being like everybody else, the part that, I was trying to be like everybody else came from, or back then it came from a place of, I saw what they were doing. And I said,
mhm,
so I see that these people are traveling, and I see that these people are, like they're creating these funny contents, or they're creating these, what are they called? Like when everybody follows in with everybody else, like they create these trends. And I was like,
copy.
I want to be on this trend, which was, in my opinion, was a huge mistake. But you live and you learn. So with that being said, that's how I started doing a lot of different comedy trends, following behind different content creators back then. And as you know, in that time, all of this social media that we have today was still fairly new. So you still had that opportunity to grow and develop into the, that content that you wanted to, to bring to people.
Mhm,
So it wasn't until I had a conversation with one of my friends. So like I said, I started with YouTube, but then that YouTube channel wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I remember asking one of my good friends then about like, their content creation, because they were on YouTube as well. And I said, my content it's not where I would like it to be. And I said, do you have any advice for me about like growth, or, what I could do to engage more people to what I'm doing? And he gave me really good advice that stuck with me. And he said, your content is good, Myles, but I think what would make it better is if you just be yourself, because I see that you're following trends. And, he's like, that's all great. If that works for you, then that's great, but be yourself. And he said, another good piece of information he gave me was find something that you're passionate about and then go after that. Because when you are in content creation and you're passionate about what you're sharing, people will feel that. People will want to engage with you, and people will want to get to know more about what it is that you're doing and what you have to bring to the table. And I said, well, all right, that's powerful. And, I took that with me. And then immediately I made a change. And it was a change to just go into that content as just being myself, being confident in what I can do and the type of person who I am. And I said, you know what? Let's channel this. So I immediately went into a mode of taking all that social media off of what I had. I took it off of YouTube. I kept that YouTube channel, but I took my videos down because then I said, let's switch gears. So I'm going to
Okay.
go into a different mode of let's just be myself. Let me not follow the trend so much, and let's see what I could do. And it just so happened that it goes way back. So it's like I'm jumping all over, but we got this. So
Go ahead. I'm here for it.
so I took in my mind, I said, what am I passionate about? And the first thing that came to my mind is travel. And then I said, okay, so I do like to travel, but then what is something that I could talk a lot about that a lot of people may not know about or would like to know about while still being myself, being true to myself. And I said, you know what? When I was younger, I used to travel to Disney all the time. Let's see what I could do with that. So that was what really sparked it, was saying, what did I do on my past when I traveled? Where did I go to a lot? Disney. And then I started asking myself the questions. I asked myself, I said, what was it about, this one ride that I did that was so great? Or what was it that the experiences that I had that made me want to talk about Disney? And it was from those questions that developed me into the content creation that I do now, as far as
Mm.
asking myself those questions led me to the Disney content that I create, as well as the Universal content that I create for my TikTok channel today. So it was just asking myself those questions, checking into the type of person, that I am, and the type of things that I like to do. And from that branch, I immediately realized, I noticed that there were a lot of people who were actually interested in what I was talking about, much more so than when I was on the content creation of, being in that comedy branch. And I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I'm going to talk about, is the theme parks and, all of the fun stuff that goes with it, because I feel like there are a lot of people who are maybe interested in this. And so the very first video, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, was the Crunk and Yzma pull the lever, that whole challenge. And I went into it and I used a bunch of different Disney hashtags. And, I tagged a few of the content creators who were, a part of it, and who I got the inspiration from immediately, because I like to give credit to, to other content creators. So I remember tagging a few content creators in it, and I said, you know what, let's put it up. I put it out there. And immediately that content did much better than the content that I had before. And I said to myself, wow, it was this simple the whole time, where all I had to do was be myself and create, and create this platform that people could easily engage with me on, and I could easily talk to them about it because, they're interested and I'm passionate about it. So they started asking questions like, hey, so when are you going to put out some more Disney videos? And at that point, I was like, well, I hadn't really, at that phase, I didn't put that much thought into it. But once I started getting these questions from, the people who were watching me, then I said, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with Disney, and we're going to grow. We're going to go from here. And immediately from there, it was such a huge 360 when I tell you that I started posting more frequently because it was something that I was passionate about. And not only that, but I saw that there were a lot more people who engaged with me as far as wanting to know more about Disney, because there is a huge, not just Disney stuff, but there's a huge market when it comes to, that type of content, like theme park creation or just like traveling in general, where a lot of people want to know, hey, so what's going on with all this? And all at the same time, all of this is happening at the same time when I got hired by Disney. So I'm making this content creation. I get hired by Disney. So now I'm here and I'm working at Disney, and I'm at the main theme park for Walt Disney World Resort, Magic Kingdom. And I said, you know what? Oh my goodness, now I work at Disney. So now this is where I can learn a lot more about what I would like to share with people, within given reason, within the gray area. But with that being said, so now I'm working at Magic Kingdom, and I'm like, you know what? Oh my gosh, there's so many different facts that you hear from, like, your leaders, or when you do get hired by Disney, they share so much, there's so many different stories with you. And I said, oh, these are things that I could pencil down and talk about later. So from there, I took all of the information that I was hearing and I was writing it down. I'm very old school. I write things down. We have phones, but I write things down, and people still ask me, why do you write stuff down? But anyway, so I wrote it all down and I keep all these notes. And for y'all to know, I keep a whole bunch of different notes. I have notebooks and notebooks of just like, see, like Disney maps and books and notes that I just everywhere. I keep them everywhere in post-its. And I just take notes. And with those notes, I put out my content. So it's like, oh, if I hear something, I'm like, I'll write it down. So let's talk about, okay, so I could talk about, this different restaurant that's opening at Disney, write it down. And with it being so competitive with the theme park and travel industry, one thing that branched out for me for my content creation was, how can I make myself different from everybody else who's already in this division? And I said, you know what, if this person is going to talk about, the menus, and this person is going to talk about the atmosphere, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. I'm going to physically go to these places because I have that power to do so now that I work at Disney. So I started going to these places and taping my experiences in the physical location with the cast members around me, and telling everyone, hey, so this is where I am, getting people engaged. And this is the type of food that I tried. And this is the type of experience that I had. And it immediately grew. Like, my channel just grew from there, showing people like, hey, so I work at Magic Kingdom, and this is the types of different places that they have to offer. And this is, like the experiences that you may have. Like when you come, you're, hey, like, have your experiences, see what it's like for you. And then, like, engage with me. Tell me, did you have a great time? Like, did you enjoy it? So it was me pretty much talking about my experiences in the physical location, and inviting people to talk with me, to chat with me, to open up that doorway of, hey, so this is not all about me. I want to know what you guys think as well, because a lot of people have a lot to say, not only about theme parks, but with anything in life in general. But in this particular instance, it was just opening up the doorway, opening up that area of opportunity for, people to engage with me and talk to me. And from there, once I started putting those videos out there, my channel grew more, because people are like, oh my gosh, he wants to talk to us. Like, it's not just that content creation. As you know, back in the past, you had that content where a lot of people were just, it's me. This is my experience. And then that was it. But, little by little, things started to change. But for me, I was like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be more interactive. I want to engage more, just speaking for myself, because I feel like, you can get more loyal, more of that loyal people to follow you and say, hey, you know what, we're interested in this too. What do you think about this? So from those comments, that led to more notes. So people are like, you know what? So you went to, let's give an example. I know that you went to the Main Street Bakery at Magic Kingdom. So what was your favorite drink? That is another video. So now it led to more content creation, because I opened up the gateway to connect with people. And I'm like, wow. So my initial video was about a basic cup of coffee, but now here I am, like an hour later, creating content for what's in the coffee, or what that atmosphere has, or something else. But now I'm talking about Space Mountain. It has nothing to do with what the conversation started about, because these people were asking different questions. So it just, you know what I mean? So it's like I went from one thing, I went from A to Z real quick. And but it's so, it all came from that good friend of mine just putting it in my mind to just be myself, and then it went into me opening up the gateway to say I'm comfortable talking about a certain topic, and then from there engaging with people about that topic and opening up the doorway for them to engage with me. It's a two-way conversation, and then from there it just opened up the gateway for more. So that's my story as far as getting into content creation, going from a place of this is where I think I would like to be to this is where I am glad to be. This is where I'm happy to be. And this is the type of establishment that I have set for myself to, to be out there for people to get to know me. And I love it.
You touched on so many important things for content creators who have been in the game for a while or people who are just looking to start. Making sure that whatever you create, you enjoy creating it. So much so that you would create it even if you couldn't post it for the world. So much so that even if you were the only person that liked it, you still would keep on creating because it actually fulfills you. And then taking it that one step further, when people actually like your stuff, engaging with them because
Yes.
it's so important. I you're making sure that people feel seen, heard, and understood, even as you're just putting out content. When you respond to somebody's comment, that shows up in the notifications, and they're like, "Oh snap! Wait, they saw my comment. They responded. You know I exist. Hold up."
Think of that, Darian. That's how I got, connected with you, because when you actually responded to a comment that I made, I was like, oh my God, this person is speaking to me? What? So I can relate to that very much, where I'm like, no, wait, let me go back through. No, this did not happen. Mm-mm. And I refreshed the page a few times. I said, I said to myself, I said, this is a glitch. TikTok is having a glitch. This person did not just reach out to me. This is not happening. And then I did it. I did it 4 times before I said, this is really happening. Let's engage. Let's go. But initially, yes, I thought it was a glitch in the system. I am not kidding.
That is hilarious. But yeah, that's the thing. Like putting the social back into social media. And when you create stuff that comes from a place of joy, people can tell. Like people can tell when your stuff isn't authentic or you are honestly drained by what you're putting out because you're doing it out of chasing metrics, just chasing views, likes, whatever. But when people see that you actually enjoy what you're talking about, that joy is infectious. They say, "Oh snap! I want a little piece of that. Let me comment, let me like and share. Somebody else needs to see this as well." Now, in becoming a consistent content creator, have you dealt with burnout, and how have you navigated it in the past or in the present? I don't know. You could be burnt out right now. Oh no.
Well, I'm sure you know, Darian, better than any of us, really. When it comes down to social media, it is a job. First and foremost, it becomes a job for those who, even if you're passionate about what you do, and I know that you are, we both are. When it comes down to to our content, at the end of the day, it gets to a point of this is a job, and then in the time that we live in, we already have like 1 or maybe 3 jobs that we're working just to survive. So you're thinking to yourself like, okay, what gets me going pretty much is the passion. I will say that. So let's see. When it comes down to getting burnt out, it has happened. Let's see. It has happened before. where I do get burnt out, and I will say it comes from a place of me being a student in school, also, family and work, so life.
Mm.
And, you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't feel like doing this right now. I don't feel like doing this today. But what keeps me going, what keeps me engaging with, with everyone is the simple fact of this is me. This is my platform. And when we engage with people, a lot of times we may not realize the impact that you have on others. And with that being said, for me, it's the impact that we have as content creators, or the impact we have as human beings on other people, to say, you know what, hey, if we're not putting this out there for ourselves, we're putting it out there for you. We want you to feel incorporated, to feel included. It's not just content creating, goes beyond it goes beyond what we're talking about. It goes more into recognizing that we're human beings. And so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how tired I personally get. It goes back into me saying, hey, remember that there are people out there who actually care about you, and people who are actually interested in what you're talking about. So let's get back on it. Like take a break for your mental health, but don't wait too long, because what's going to happen, what I've learned, what gets me back into the rhythm, is seeing your, let's say, the people who interact with you. You start to see a change. I don't know if this has happened to you, but you'll see a change of the engagement. And that's a big deal to me, as far as so you're going from a place of, I'm getting all these wonderful comments and all of this wonderful ideas coming from these comments, and people are actually interested in what I'm talking about. You go from that to, okay, wait, so I don't have as many comments on this video, so what's going on? Like, how can we make this better? How can we make this right? And with that being said, getting to that place of, so I was here and now I'm here. I'm not where I was, but it's the thought of, let me take where I am right now and redeem myself. Let me get back to where I was. So it's that constant circle of regaining that confidence, that people, regaining the confidence in myself first and foremost, and then creating that passion within me to then go back onto social media a few days later and then say, hey, I'm back. I just needed a minute to recharge myself, but now I'm back and I'm ready to to bring all that happiness back to you all and get you all back engaged. So letting myself know that it's okay to take that break, and then also letting others know that, hey, so I'm coming back. Because it's like I said, you're really, at the end of the day, your content creation is a reflection of you. It's a reflection of who you are. And if you go away for too long, God forbid something may happen, it's the world. People will forget. People will move on. And then there's always that content creator, or those people who have a little bit more going on. And then that's when the camera will turn to them. And it's like, you know what? It's a fair opportunity for everyone, especially with social media. But I don't want people to forget about me. I don't want my spotlight to go out because, of a certain thing or something that is going on in my life. So, remembering that we are our own marketing. We sell ourselves at the end of the day. And if you're not investing in yourself and in what you have and your gifts and your talents, then what are you doing? So also remembering that is what gets me back out of that burnt out phase and gets me back into getting to my notes, looking over my notes. Okay, so what is it that I can talk about this week that I haven't talked about before that, would be interesting? And, it's that driving factor of what can happen next as well that keeps me going too. Because right now with Disney, there's a lot going on, especially with the inclusivity factor, and Disney against certain people. It's a really tough time for Disney at this moment. So with that being said, I'm going back slowly into a small decline as far as views, but it doesn't have to do with me. It's with the brand itself and what's happening in the world around us. But we can't let that deter us from, putting out that good content. So, with that being said, right now I'm in a place of building myself up again because of everything that's going on outside of, the content creation and everything that's happening with Disney at this current moment and just the brand in general. I'm in a moment of rebuilding myself and getting myself out there saying, you know what, if we're not going to talk about this, what we're going to talk about is the future. So now let's deflect it. So now you have to be that bigger person, say, let's talk about this. Focus over here. While all of this is happening over here, it's like a magician. So, like they want you to focus on this one place while everything else is happening that, we don't want people to see. But we have to make them like, this is the big picture. So at
Mhm.
the end of the day, right now, my content is focusing on the future of theme parks in general. So where will we be in the next year or so is what I'm focused on at this moment and moving forward. And so my content at this particular moment, if you notice, is just talking about hidden Easter eggs in the ride. So when you go to Disney's Hollywood Studios, they have the Tower of Terror. That ride has been there for, I want to say, over 20 years. So what I talk about in the particular content is the hidden Easter eggs that are throughout the entire ride that you may have not seen. That video did very well because it's not touching on any sensitive topics. It's just talking about, hey, so this is something that you may not know. The next time you visit Disney, this is what you could be aware of. It's so many different things that you could notice. There's so much beauty and there's so many different secrets to a theme park that make it the way it is. Or not just that, but anything in life. It could go to a grocery store. One day you may go into Publix and you might say, oh, I just realized the bread is on aisle 3 today. It's not on aisle 5. What is it? What created this change? So it goes to that too. It's just it's it's a form of putting out that content of, hey, so let's focus on this. Let's focus on a bigger picture instead of those small details. And sometimes it works the other way around. But in this particular instance, I'm focused more on, creating that atmosphere of taking people out of reality, because reality is hard. Taking them out of reality into a place of imagination, as I'm sounding like a Disney character, but here we are. You want to take people on a journey of, hey, so let's focus on the positive. Let's talk about the content of, or just things in general about the world that don't have to deal with the world necessarily. And that's where I am as far as like going through the roller coaster of getting burnt out, but uplifting myself and getting back out there to keep creating, to keep putting myself out there. It never ends. It's a powerful move to keep putting yourself out there and showing the world like, hey, this is me and this is what I like to talk about. It's the driving factor of you matter. At the end of the day, you matter as an individual. And then when, like what you were saying earlier, it's just when you're passionate about what you do, people feel it. So, you channel that energy. You say, I'm passionate. I like what I talk about. I like what I bring to the table. Channel it and then bring it out. And then people will come right back. And then you see those comments come back. You see your growth get better. And that's something that just it really motivates me to keep putting out that content as well, is the engagement from other people.
That is crucial. That is crucial. And to your point about investing in yourself, honestly, investment sometimes just looks like taking a nap, making sure you drank some water today, making sure your relationships in real life are sound, making sure you clean the kitchen
Yeah.
because you got them dishes in the sink. You've been putting it off. Just go ahead and take care of that, and that removes some physical clutter and some mental clutter. So then you can focus on making that next piece of content that you so enjoy making. So that yeah, all of that is crucial when it comes to navigating burnout as a content creator. Now going beyond social media, like what else does Miles do? Like
Wow.
and beyond work, like what what are some other things that you love to talk about in real life, but you just rarely talk about on social media.
Well, speaking of which, I love this. I love where this is going. So for me, I get a lot of, let's start with this. I get a lot of questions similar to what you just asked. So what do you do outside of going to Disney? Are you only Disney? Do you, what is your, what do you do? um, which will open up gateways for, future content. But that's neither here nor there at this moment. To answer your question, when it comes down to it, I travel. I do travel outside of Disney. I want to mention that. I want that to be known, for that to go on the record. I do go to other places outside of Disney. But with that being said, this year alone, I have gone to Quebec, Canada, with a group of friends and my girlfriend. We all went. We were there for 8 days. It was a great time, and we also went to the state parks in California. I'm big on nature. Yes, I know. Um, that shocks a lot of people too. I'm very big on nature. I like to kayak, I like to zip line, all that fun stuff. So that's something that I like to do. So when I was in California with my girlfriend and my friends, we went to the Redwood National Park. So I don't know if you're familiar or if you've heard of it, but the redwood trees are big. They're large enough. They're big enough for cars to drive through. They're massive. And so when we went out there, we were like, so what is there to do in California besides going to Disneyland? Because I did go to Disneyland. I will put that on there. Okay, so I did go to Disneyland, but yes, so I went over to the Redwood Trail, and it was so amazing to be there in the wilderness. And I actually have some videos from there that I filmed while I was out there. But I actually, to be honest with you, I didn't film as much out there because I wanted to be in the moment. I wanted to engage in it. I wanted to enjoy it. Because a lot of times what happens is, with content, we get taken away. So we're always filming. We can always be on camera. But I wanted to be there. I wanted to be present. I wanted to, smell the grass and the trees. And, I'm not physically getting on my hands and knees and, smell the grass, but I wanted to, be one with nature. And it was, when I tell you, it was one of the most impactful experiences of my life to be able to, to travel, to go to a place that only a few people go to be able to say, I went to the Redwood Forest Trail. So that was really, really cool. And they also have these like large tarantulas, like these spiders that live inside the trees. I know. And I found that great. But I will say that what happened was when I was out there, we went into, because all of us could stand in the trees. They're that massive. We could stand in them. And I remember my friends they were taking pictures. We were all taking pictures of each other and of the trees. And I remember we were talking to one of the guides that were out there, and they said to us, "Be careful because there are tarantulas out there." And I was like, "Who?" Like, you mean the massive spiders? Exactly, that's here. And so he goes to show us, he's like, you see these large openings in the trees that are covered. They're covered with webs. Inside of those are tarantulas. I said, let's get out these trees. Hurry up, everybody, gather. Let's get out of here. I'm not gonna be one to get attacked. No, thank you. This is not arachnophobia. You know, if a spider falls on me, I'm done. Okay. And I don't know if my insurance travels to the state of California. So we need to hurry up and get out of here. Uh,
Hilarious.
I was scared for my life when this man is telling us it's these giant spiders. And I'm like, I'm out. But other than that, we had a great time. We also went to the pier at Malibu. There were no tarantulas out there. I was vibing with it. That was nice. But we really do a lot of things as far as nature. We also took a trip to Miami. We went to the Everglades and we went kayaking. That was exciting. Even though that it is alligator season. I'm just living life on the edge. That's what I'm saying. And before we got into the kayak, this person tells us that's over in the Everglades, the tour guide, whatever. I don't know the proper term for them. There's a name, but this person tells us, they go, so be careful what you go over in these open spaces may not be rocks. They may be alligators. And I said, well, I don't want to be in this water long enough to figure it out. I be out here to figure it. I'm not going to just determine whether or not it's an alligator or a boulder. Who does that? So I was like, you know what? My life is really extreme. But here I am, me being the type of adventurous person I am. It's like, who goes kayaking as often? So let me just go out there and adventure because I like to be a part of nature. I just want to live.
If
And,
I am too
you
close
know,
to the boulder to
yeah,
realize it's an alligator,
right.
I
It's saying, and then they're telling you it may be a boulder, but it can also be an alligator. And it's like, so you say this with so much confidence, like I'm really gonna sit there and decipher the difference between the two. And then they had the audacity to include there may be crocodiles out there as well. And I was like, again, I'm not going to be out there trying to decipher the difference between an alligator and a crocodile. They're both dinosaurs to me. Anyway, man. But with that being said, I do travel, so I go to a lot of different places. So, like this year, like I said, I went to the Everglades and I also went to the Redwood Forest. So those two places are great experiences for me, as far as just being adventurous and living life more instead of just existing. But what about you? What do you do outside of your content creation? Taking us back to the 2000s and late 90s,
I have actually have a lot of hobbies. So, fun fact, I can solve a Rubik's Cube in about 3 minutes or less. So like the 3x3 Rubik's Cube. I also have a 5x5 Rubik's Cube. So like I'm really into puzzles and stuff. I also
Right.
have this one, it's called like a Ayun Jun. Oh man, it's like a pyramid of a Rubik's Cube with different shapes. It has a trapezoid, triangle, little square. Anyway, so it's puzzles. I enjoy puzzles. I enjoy mind games. I enjoy Sudoku. I enjoy word searches. I enjoy roller skating, longboarding. I play the bass guitar.
Nice.
I'm a real big music head. Like I have Spotify playlists for days for every possible occasion.
Ooh,
Everything from
wee.
80s French pop to Italian dinner to proposing.
My goodness, my goodness. I am with you on that. See, now it makes me want to go back and recant the answer that I gave you and just talk a little bit more. So now it's like, okay, wait, can I go back? Can I get a do-over? Um, that's those are hey, that's impressive. Let's share some Spotify playlists, by the way.
Absolutely.
Just,
Absolutely. What do you
I
want? I got it. What you want? I got stuff in English. I got stuff in Arabic, Japanese, French, Portuguese. I'm also big on languages as well. I can
yes,
speak Portuguese, Spanish, and I can read French at like a third grade level. And then English is my native language, but yeah, like I'm really big into languages and stuff. So I got stuff in Swedish, I got stuff in German, you name it, I probably got a playlist for
my, you hit that third grade level. I'm on no level, so you already got me beat on.
it.
When it comes to that, but I will say that is impressive. And it's just that's awesome. That's a great way, in my opinion, of being engaged and being in the world and enjoying life. That's beautiful. My goodness. So now it's like here I am over here talking about, traveling. I'm big on music too. I love all different types of music and country. I like to throw that out there. Nothing is wrong with country music. What is
I
wrong
got
with
a country playlist. It got
everything?
12 songs on it, but I got a country playlist.
Rascal Flats. I like this. It's just, and you know what? And I blame Disney for that. Disney got
Cars.
a lot of music back in the day that we didn't even know we would like. So I applaud Disney for that.
That
But
is
yes, anywho,
funny.
Love that. I love that. I definitely love music as well. I have so many different types of playlists. I can relate to that too, where it's like my playlists don't even make sense. What I've titled them, I'm like, man, I got a vintage playlist with music from the 50s and 60s to, a 70s and 80s playlist. 70s was actually a lot more retro than people believed. Speaking of which, but with that, I really do. So you've opened up my music Pandora box, but I love music. I feels like just as much as you do. But when it comes to like let's say a constant playlist for me, I love the 80s. I love it. I love it. I love it. For me, man, that opens up a Pandora's box for we. Okay, we're gonna have a chat on that too soon. But when Prince, Tina Turner, Madonna, you had these great artists back in the day, great talent, and so great in fact that when they came on, you knew whose song belonged to who. And I'll leave it at that.
You about to say nowadays?
Right? How did you How did you know? And we're not gonna go into detail on that. Again, let's have a chat on that another time. But I will say that, yeah, so you knew when an artist hit, when that first, flute played or that first drum, banged, you were like, I know who this is. And so it is what it is. But yes, I have a whole Pandora's box, a whole playlist on Spotify, Apple Music, you name it. It's just music, it's just what keeps me going. A lot of us going. It's great. Even on my 5-minute drive over to Disney World from my job, I'll have a whole playlist that's like 8 hours for that 5-minute drive. Just like, here we go, repeat. So it's nice. It's nice. It keeps us going. I mean, I can't sit in silence. I can't do it. My mind has too much going on to sit in silence. I start singing to myself. That's not pretty. So I gotta always have that playlist going, man. But yeah, so like you definitely that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now, I mean, speaking of you, I want to go teach myself how to play the drums. Let me pick a different instrument from you, and like now we can start a band. That is impressive every time, man. But yeah, so it all goes back to I want to put that out there that I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to connect. It's powerful. It's moving for me because your content, it really does motivate me. And to see it, it's just every time I get across your page, like I'm sure you see my comments where I'm like, you brought back these memories that I didn't even remember I had. Like you channeled my memory, all these different words.
My
Like,
memory.
like this. And like I see your content and I'm always like, he's done it again. Like, how do you do this? And it's so great every single time. I'm just like, he did it again. And it's so impressive. And every time it's funnier than the one before. Like I know it's just, man. And then the most interesting part about it, and correct me if I may be wrong, is that I don't even believe you're trying to be funny. You're just being yourself. And I'll be over there just cracking up like, I don't think he's putting this out there to be funny per se, but this is definitely hilarious. And he's just thinking like, what?
I just
Because
be rapping. I just
it's
be turning on the camera and rapping, and it's funny because like my wife, she'll watch me make videos sometimes, or like she'll be in another room and she'll hear me making videos and stuff, and all she can do is just chuckle. And like it's like my mind is like, when you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave,
mm,
my mind with these content ideas is literally like a never ending bag of popping popcorn in the microwave. That's how it feels sometimes. It's like, oh, this idea, that idea. Let me write all this down. I have a note section in my phone. I use I have an iPhone. I use the reminders app,
oh, see,
and I
great.
have,
I'm writing stuff down.
yo, I have the, I have ideas that go all the way back to 2016.
Mm,
Like, I keep every single thought, every mundane task that I can make into a joke, everything that reminds me of childhood, early or late 90s, early 2000s. I got something for it.
I love.
And it's just it just flows. Like I I'm in mid conversation dropping SpongeBob quotes just to see if
right?
people pick up on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Darren, when you brought up Anastasia, it had been like 20 years before I had seen Anastasia. And I'm watching your content like, oh my God, I forgot all about this. You just unlocked a memory, man. I'm like, I'm over there like calling the minions because this is big, man. Like, I was like, come on. I was thinking to myself, when that was one of the first content that I saw from your channel where I was like, let's get to know this man. Darian is on. I'm telling you, I was there like, Anastasia, what made you think of Anastasia of all movies? You know what I mean? And then that was like, in my opinion, Anastasia was one of the, if you were a kid and you didn't see Anastasia growing up, something was wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like every child, most every child had to have. And then when you brought it up, when I saw it, I was like, I forgot Anastasia was a musical too. And it's good too.
Bruh. And the funny thing is, a lot of people think Anastasia originally was a Disney princess, but she wasn't at first. Like that
Mhm.
movie was produced by Fox. But then later on in the comment section, when I made that video, people were like, well, technically now she kind of is because Disney kind of bought the rights to it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know all that. That was crazy. Okay, well, I guess she Disney now,
Right?
technically. So,
It's funny that you mentioned that too. It's see, we get that input from the comments. It's the comment section for me. I'm sure you hear that. You go to somebody's video, skip the video, sometimes go straight to the comments. Anywho, but yeah, it's like, my goodness, when it came down to that, I completely relate to that. Anastasia goes back. See, me being at Disney, you have a lot of what people don't know is behind the scenes. We be having battles with each other. Disney cast members talking about like, so is Anastasia a princess or is she not? Is she ain't or is she is? We be back there being, just flat out, we don't care behind the scenes. And my dude, you'll have that one person to bring out the facts. Well, actually, pow. And you be like, you know what? Didn't nobody ask you to do that? But now that you have done that, thank you for it. We now know that. We now know the answer. But see, just this chat unlocked a memory about how we have these conversations behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. We'd be waiting for it to get physical. Just kidding. But yeah. But when it comes to it, yeah, like, you did it. For me, out of all of your content, everything is wonderful, in my opinion, that you put out there. I applaud you. But it was Anastasia for me when I was like, and then when you put out the whole thing with it being a musical, I was like, I'm mind blown. I completely forgot about that because, when you watch these movies as a kid, it's so much different when you watch it as an adult. And I'm like, my God, so you just keep unlocking those childhood memories. It's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. And nobody else says thank you. I'm saying thank you.
thank
Oh,
you for teaching me all about Disney parks and anything and everything theme park that I didn't even think to think about.
right. It's true. So much out there, and there's so much more to come. It's a great marketing place to come from. It's a great topic to talk about. It goes beyond just, what it is. It's like I said, it's the engagement with people. People have the nostalgia factor. It's all of that. That plays a huge factor, in my opinion, about the content that we create. Is just that nostalgia where you're like, you think back and it brings back those good memories of, I remember before I signed the adult contract, when I was a kid, I remember how simple it was. And for me coming, watching your content, I'm like, I remember before I had, so many life worries. I used to think that the situations I had back then were, big deals. Like, dang, as I'm watching Anastasia the musical over here talking about some my Crayola is broken, that was a life crisis for me, man. And now it's like, if I could go back to, and all I had to do was get a box of Crayola, my God, that just fixed my problems. It would be fantastic. If only it could be, I would be like, you know what? Yes, to fix my problems, let me just go to Walmart and get a box of Crayola and watch Anastasia. So thank you for that, because it goes beyond, like, like we said, it goes beyond what a lot of people think. we're creating that safe space. And it's just it's fantastic to get into it and watch so many different content creators, because when I watch different content creators, especially with theme parks, you're like, I didn't know about this. So you're sitting there like, wait, are you for real? Like Mickey Mouse did what? You know, wow. So it just, man, the stuff you hear about on certain channels, it's mind blowing. Or for me, especially going into a whole different chapter of with theme parks in general, like the rides that people didn't even that never even made it to reality, but the concepts for them, it's mind blowing. The content that's out there, or the information that's out there that has not yet been brought to the public. So when we get our hands on that, that's when it's like, whew, I didn't even know that that was a thing. So thank you for bringing this to our attention. We're doing great things, and it's so amazing to have, that great circle of community that we can all engage with and chat with about beautiful things like life.
Absolutely. So, as we bring this convo to a close, and to take it back to content creation one last time, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to start creating content, whether it be for social media or just in general?
Well, as I mentioned before, it's as simple as being yourself. That would be my best advice, is to be yourself and to bring that passion out that's within you, to be confident in yourself and to be confident in the content that you bring forward. We cannot allow the negativity to hinder us. We can't let the negativity or those, damaging thoughts to take us down and keep us down, whatever they may be. We need to use any sort of negativity, if there may be, to fuel us. Use it to fuel you. Say, you know what? This person may have not liked what I've done, but I'm putting content out there for everyone. So, it's a win-win lose at the end of the day, because what you have to remember is that as a person, we're here to please some of the people some of the time, but we won't be able to please some of those people most of the time. So that's my advice as far as content creation is. We want to always be the best version of ourselves when we bring content forward, and just be true to yourself. And please don't be like anyone else. Just be yourself. Because people, like we discussed earlier, people feel that energy, and people will know if your if your energy is coming from a sincere, genuine place, or if it's just coming from a place of, I just want to put this out here for no apparent reason. People feel that. So when we put content out there, my advice is just be yourself and be happy with yourself, and be, content and comfortable in what it is that you're talking about, because that will change your entire career tremendously, not just for, the people who are engaging with you, but for yourself. And being a content creator has taught me so much more about myself than I could have ever known. So with that being said, there's nothing wrong with the type of person that we are as individuals. We just have to be confident in ourselves and confident in what we're bringing to the table, and not harming anyone. And, just keep going from there. Like, keep spreading love, keep spreading joy and peace in what you do, because people will feel it. And the more love that you put out there, it will come back. We put out the energy that we want to get back.
Miles, thank you so much for your time. I will include all of the ways that people can get connected with you on the episode description. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, Darian. Thank you. It's been amazing. We will chat again.